So, holy shit, we probably have mammoth check-ins. I'm preparing for that, and it's probably okay. It's probably what we need to do. So, you know what? I'm going to do a check-in too, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to do a check-in. I'm thinking of kind of this is sort of like what I did during my summer vacation. Any big events? Oh my God, I got an announcement tonight. And then kind of what you're working on. I'd really like to get a sense of that, and if there's anything in the yeah, and probably the course material too, right? What you got out of that? I just read some notes on a little history again just now, and I've got all kinds of. I've been harvesting information, and I'm just itching to deploy it. So there's going to be a workshop, then dinner, then a walk, and then maybe I'll get a chance to come in and plug the stuff in. But for sure tomorrow morning. I have to do it in the morning because tomorrow afternoon I'm going to a hockey game. My ex-wife gave me a ticket to see the Kraken, Seattle's expansion hockey team, first year, against the Blackhawks of Chicago. So you know where my loyalties lie. And I have half of mine to bring a speaker in my pocket so that when the Hawks score, I can play the horn that they play at the United Center, and then the Fratelli's Chelsea Dagger, their traditional goal scoring song. But I don't know if I have the balls to do that. However, so we're gonna go like this, and then if the others come, they'll come after. And CJ was first. Did we do this to you? Did we make you go first all the time because you were first? Is that sound like deja vu all over again, CJ? Can we hear you? Are you there?
Saying CJ or KJ?
KJ. CJ is in that corner. KJ is in that corner. All right. KJ first, then me, then Laura, then Linda, then Susan, then Anne, then Skylar, then Adelia, then CJ, and then Tim and Ingrid, if and when they show up. All right.
Well, I would like to say I have an astounding and mind-shattering check-in that's going to take 45 minutes, but I don't. Um, I've had a really rough time after losing my mom, and with the holidays coming on that, with not being able to be with my kids during that time, um, kind of made it especially hard because my mom was on my mind and my relationship with my mother. And so I was thinking of my kids, et cetera, et cetera. So, and keeping myself from saying, oh, I wish I'd have done this, or I should have done that, or all of that stuff that gets you nowhere, but sad. So I really spent a whole lot of time in my bathrobe on the couch, binge watching real murder mysteries of all things. So, usually my daughters and I have an annual thing of watching all those stupid Hallmark movies that we all know the plot to and where they go and what happens. And I just wanted to watch murder things instead. So that's where I went. So we were by ourselves for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it was actually okay, although at the time it felt particularly sad. Have started, going a few places now. So I'm trying to go to places around here because I find out, I don't know, wherever you live, we don't seem to go to the places that are by us, right? That are really interesting unless we have somebody visiting. So I've gone to does anybody remember Biosphere from years ago? Yeah, the experiment of survival in a little pod thing or a big pod thing. So I've been to that. I went to the immersive Van Gogh, which I didn't find that interesting, but I went to the Phoenix Art Museum and found their immersive display, which was of these tiny little lights all over that you go in, and it's a dark room with mirrors around it, and it's being immersed in fireflies. I found that really great. So just trying to get out and do some things like that. I'm going to go see Chihuly in the desert next week. So just, trying to get inspired and get myself moving and get back to living life. I read all the stuff, and the part that sticks with me the most is that whole thing on the diaries and the difference between American diaries and Japanese diaries. And I think that I write more naturally in a Japanese diary form, because it's usually I have things that I entitle just daily words, and it has poetry on it that I'm writing for that day, or it has a paragraph or line I find interesting about something that either I'm doing or I've read about, or things like that, or some stolen lines that I steal out of things that I read. So I really liked that. And finally, the Haibund that we did earlier made total sense to me. I get it. Writing in prose and then doing a poem after it. So I really liked reading about that. I tried to name my room, and I love Rancho Chaotic so much that I just am in El Curato Chaos, which is the chaos room. So I kind of stole that a little bit from Tim, but it's a mess in here. You're looking at the halfway neat part up here, but it's just because there's art stuff and an easel and paint and just all kinds of stuff all over the place. So I did that. I tried to write the verse thing about it, and it just, I don't know. My voice, I think, as it should, changes as you go through life. Your writing changes, your voice changes, and I think mine is in the process of changing and hasn't quite got there yet. So I almost sounded like too nice and icky and bleh when I read my rules. So I don't think I'm going to share those. I have one tiny little poem that I might share. And I don't know how to do that screen share thing. So I'll just read it. It's very short. It doesn't have a title. The power is out, a main line. Washing up some dishes, wiping egg and bacon, grease off the stovetop. I think of my mother, 3 months past. Here, underground power lines make it difficult, but shit happens. Now hot water wanes. In the Sonoran Desert, where January days reach 72, I am cold. So that's my check-in.
It's funny when you were talking near the end of your check-in. First of all, I thought the place I was just at, our painter friends, we were in her house, and she's kind of a messy housekeeper, and there was a fake turd on the ground, and it was so realistic. The color was so right on, and I'm like, "Is that a fake turd?" And she waited too long to answer me. And it's like I didn't smell it, so I was pretty sure it was a fake turd, but it was unnervingly real looking. So I've been, whatever background any of you have, it's not going to compete with the fake turd on the ground that I almost stepped in. And I made sure to step over it as I was leaving. But then there was another one about your mom, and it kind of occurred to me that your mom is an ally from the other side to help you with your work, to help you with your life. I really believe that. I forget who it was. I think it was Bhagavan Das when I interviewed him, and I said, he's like, the ancestors want to help us. I said, it's sort of like operators are standing by. He said, operators are standing by. And then you had a reference to the underground power in your poem. And I thought, holy shit, I know I just read this stuff in, and I know the human tendency is to look for meaning where maybe or maybe wasn't there. But I think that's the high energy construct, especially when it's the specific bacon and egg grease that you're wiping off the stove. I mean, it puts us right there in the moment. So
Thank
beauty,
you.
beauty. I look forward to seeing what you come up with the whole diary exercise.
Yeah. That's what I think I'm going to do, is just keep moving forward and try some more of the high ones maybe in there.
Yeah, I think high blunt. I think any kind of forms, anything that strikes you, as long as you're writing, is kind of what we're hoping for. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm going to kind of try and keep mine short. Um, I did a writing retreat. I had bad migraines. They were because I steeped these coffee tea bags for 12 minutes instead of the recommended 5, and I had 2 a day. So I got coffee pounded during my writing retreat. I got some stuff done. I typed up all what I consider my worthy American sentences from last year. There were 12 pages of American sentences from last year that have some resonance for me. I wouldn't publish them all. So, and I went to Clatskanie, Oregon, birthplace of Raymond Carver, and they now have a big mural and a little plaque that says he was born in this building when it was the hospital back in 1937 or something like that. And I sent the pictures to his widow, Tess Gallagher, and she was very happy to see those. That was in Clatskanie. I got there in a snowstorm. They're like, how did he get up? How did you get up here with no snow tires and no chains? I'm like, you got to get momentum going uphill. I left my car parked there and used a stick to walk downtown. Before I went on the 22nd of December, and after I came back on January 5th, I had a stellate ganglion block procedure. Reset my parasympathetic nervous system. They do it to veterans who are suffering from PTSD. My doctor called it PTSI because if it's an injury, it can be healed. And the D is a disorder that suggests it can't be healed. And it's changed my life. It's cost me a lot of money, $655 twice. So I spent $1,300. I ended up taking $1,400 out of my savings, which was 2/3 of what I had in savings. But it's changed my life. Ella said, ever since Daddy got a shot in the neck, he doesn't yell anymore. So I was, Adelia, you're smiling. I think I told you, I'm going to recommend everybody in Subud get this shot in the neck. And I think every African-American person in North America ought to have a shot in the neck because of the trauma that we've suffered. Not just, and Bhakti's sister, the osteopath said, have you had traumatic pain? I said, no traumatic, emotionally traumatic events. Anyway, so the shot in the neck is a factor. I'm still working on flexible mind poems, which are coming sometimes 2 days in a row and then not for 2 weeks, but I'm getting a good hunk of flexible mind poems. This is going to come out. We've got the final edition. Adelia helped me edit Haibun de la Serna. And it looks like the launch is going to be April 13 at C&P Coffee House. But it looks nice. Some great blurbs on the back. And, Bhakti and I are going to get married on January 15th of next year, which would be our 8th anniversary. And she decided and said, let's go get rings. Oh God, I got to show you the ring. So we didn't get them yet, but we picked them out. She's got one that's going to be made and by a native artist. And I'll give you a sense once I go back. We did our daily trip to the market. I should just pull these all up because these are all great photos. But let me do screen share and then photos. Yeah, here we go. And so this is a wolf ring. Look at that. Isn't that fucking amazing? Oh my God. So she said, I think we should go get rings. So I'm like, okay. And then we're at dinner after our market day and we're Jason and Elizabeth. And she's like, yeah, we're going to get married and we'd like you to conduct the ceremony. She says, is that okay with you? I'm like, yeah, that's okay. It kind of like, I was hoping I'd find out first before Jason, but that's the way it happens. And we told Ella, and she almost crapped her pants. She's been telling us forever, you got to marry this guy. You got to get married. Or if I say something crazy, it's like, don't marry this guy, is what she'll say. So anyway, that's my news and my check-in. Oh yeah, I wrote Bhakti a card. Let me share screen again here. So to mark the occasion, talk about merging your personal life with writing. So that's the Wolf Ring by Kwak Kwak Yuao man, Joseph Wilson. There's the cow at the Pike Place Market with gym shoes. There we are at the traditional selfie in front of the market, the iconic market clock. There she is in front of the Cascadia map. Had to do that. There's Big Head Todd and the Monsters. I texted that to Danica. And then a bunch of things on the wall. Hold on. And then, what's that?
He's yelling.
Eat me? Video. Here it is. It only takes 7 years to turn a rabbit queen and a blood hawk into a lady hummingbird and wolf king. And already, look how juicy and delicious that's working out. So that was the card I gave her for our 15th anniversary with a wolf. I didn't have any hummingbird stickers, but I put the wolf on there. So all my postcard training coming in handy on that. So anyway, I'm gonna stop share. That's my check-in. And now the whole screen has changed, but we'll go with Laura, Anne, Adelia, Skylar, Linda, Susan, Ingrid, CJ, you're still gonna be last. All right, that's my check-in. Oh shit, that was 6 minutes. I'm sorry. All right, Laura, unmute yourself if you're not already unmuted.
Paul, that was so beautiful. I can't follow that.
I'm sorry.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
So my check-in is that I'm getting divorced. I moved to California and here I wrote, I did name my new place, just the name of the street. But here I'll share screen and share the little poem I wrote, basically a cover poem of yours in the exercise. Let's see if I can get it. Whoops. Does that work? Okay. Welcome to Sunrise Circle, where we have avocados, the buttery kind, Buddha's fingers, a lemony hand of rind, starfruit, cherimoya, etc. Don't forget the almonds, or the paste of sugar in a thinner than paper skin, dates. Fruit reigns here, as in Adam and Eve, I see the truth and it's hanging by a thread, as in some things are of a stage to be nurtured and let live, and some you can blow on and they'll drop translucent in your hand. The choice to blow is yours. Blow or leave it to the next good wind. We will try to tell you the kinds of things ordinarily left to your obituary, because we like the truth, even to the extent of overblowing it. And to die before you die, like a piece of fruit, is to discover what is truly important. And here we are asking, is what is truly important being laid bare to ourselves by each other? So
what a beautiful piece of personal myth. Oh my God. I missed you guys already. The two things I heard today are just fantastic. I'll stop now.
So in terms of my bigger project, I've been continuing with that. What I do is I write a little bit every day, and then about once a week, I come up with something that is basically like one of those art. I mean, that piece about the Japanese poetic diary, I was like, I'm doing that. So that was really exciting to read and to feel like, oh, I'm actually doing something, some kind of long-term thing that is tracking my life, that is tracking personal history and place history. And now I've transitioned. So I have like 6 months or almost a year, I guess, in Montana. And now I'm doing another 6 months and we'll see where it goes in California. So it'll be interesting to have that big project in 2 places.
The place, Sunrise Circle, that you're at now, that's
Mhm.
the place where you go when you're away from your kids, right?
So this is the place, we only have one place right now, which is this place, which is where my kids are and where I am a lot of the time. And when I'm not here, I'm over at my parents' house.
I just think that, you know, all that I'm talking about, and how here you are getting divorced, moving to a new place, naming the place, and being able to, I mean, really state your course. It's a huge tool to shape your life. I mean, you talk about creating an intention, and here you are, you have a sacrament to that intention. That's so fucking gorgeous. I didn't think the exercise was that good. And here it is. Holy shit. That's amazing. I mean, it touches me to see you people take this material and do stuff like that. It's fantastic, and to also to hear about what's going on in your lives and to share this and have some sense of that. It's really a gift. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're already doing the poetic diary. What was the Japanese word for that? Does anyone remember the poetic diary? Kokoro? No, kokoro is something else. It's art. Got to learn this. There's a lot of Japanese material coming in these days. I think what you're going to see here in the next couple of weeks. So fantastic. Yes. I mean, to write every day in the harvest it. That's the smartest thing. I mean, I have the American Sentences. I have the pocket journal, which I carry around. Man, if I misplace this, what a scare it is. I mean, now it's only 2 weeks. I should harvest them regularly, but I just got to keep good care of them. Just keep them close. Beautiful, Laura. Good luck with the transition. Fewer hunters in Southern California, less likely to be hit by someone trying to shoot a moose. So I think it's probably one of the good things about being in Southern California. Okay, Anne, you're next. And yes, you did send me material. And
Okay.
here we go. You got 2 different emails. Jam Jars in November or Sonnet for Luna?
Yeah.
Bring them both up.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, because I don't really have much to say
I see.
about, we've had a lot of weather here, atmospheric rivers and things like that, keeping us inside. So it's been pretty quiet. And I had a big journalism assignment that I just finished. So I've been sort of writing things that weren't poetry, but I really like the idea of the poetic diary. And I'm going to try and do that.
Tell us about the journalism piece.
Yeah, well, actually, the Canadians will know that Canadians' free healthcare systems really kind of fallen apart pretty badly because we don't actually have any family doctors in Canada. We train them, but they don't actually go into family medicine. They become hospitalists and things like that. And it's 5 million people in Canada don't have family doctors. And anyway, I just wrote a 2,700 word piece on that for the medical newspaper I used to work for. So I've been working on that for about 5 weeks. I finally filed it yesterday. It's pretty scandalous, really, when you think about it, that everybody pays for, Medicare out of their taxes and stuff. And people move to this community I live in, and then they realize that they can't get a doctor, and they phone this phone number, and they get their name on a list, and then they're told that there's a 4-year wait list to get a doctor. But when the only place to get a doctor is from the government, they don't really have anywhere to go to find one, right? So it's pretty bad.
And Joseph,
Anyway, that's
Joseph update.
Yeah, Joseph is he's doing really well, actually.
he's feeling well. His hemoglobin is normal for the first time, and he's walking every day, and his he's last time he had a CT scan, he didn't have any tumors anywhere, and he's going to have another one in March. He has them every 4 months. So, we're just sort of thinking about sort of life with melanoma sort of continues, sort of that's getting used to it. Yeah, so I'm just going to read 2 poems that I wrote. Yeah, I wrote one about my old cat. Well, the first one I'll write about, jam jars okay. You in the corner of your studio, quart jam jars full of colored water, not from Dolphin Lake or from the sheets of rain that soften the hills outside and pool our walking trails these dark November days. You dip your brush, tincture of cadmium red, Prussian blue, pigments from your boyhood. A safe place from which to process your weekly clinical reports. And the other one.
You took out the squirrel brush.
Yeah, because I just forgot to read it.
Oh,
You dip your squirrel brush.
Okay.
You dip your squirrel brush, its hairs loaded with cadmium red, Prussian blues, vermilion, pigments from your boyhood. A safe place from which to process your weekly clinical reports.
Is a squirrel brush a brush that uses squirrel hair?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I see those dead squirrels on the street that have been there for a week or two. And you could actually, it's probably stiff enough where you could probably just paint with it. And the tails stay kind of soft, even though the body is like, kind of hard. But I'm glad you're not doing that. Okay. So
I had a hard time reading that because with my earphones plugged in my ears, I can't really hear myself.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Well, what I really loved is how you had the sheets of rain that softened the hills. Anyone in this part of the world knows that because of mudslides and all that stuff, the way you just said that was so perfect, how they soften the hills. I've never heard that before. Let me share screen for the other poem, Sonnet for Luna. Does this need any setup, or should I just put it up there?
Well, no, Luna. Yeah, so Luna, well, we sort of give Luna her medicine every day, and she's still with us. And I think probably, I know that Linda has old cats, so I'll read this for Linda. Sonnet for Luna.
Oh, wait. Do you see it on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our old matted cat wobbles, aims for her plastic food bowl. Hasn't quite missed yet. Black all over. Her 6-toed paws turning brownish. She is half blind, she is half deaf, but she lies in her bed, listening to CBC radio and purring. And she gets up and eats again, and she gets up and eats again. She comes over for a rub. It isn't her time yet.
Well, at least she's not watching murder mysteries. That's good. That's probably good.
Yeah, she does. She likes listening to the radio. Yeah.
Cats do like listening to the radio, don't they? It's a true story. You're not just making that up.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
glad your
I
cat's
really
still
liked
with us.
I really liked the piece on the Japanese poetry, and the name I gave myself was Night Window, because I tend to stay up till about 2:30 in the morning. That's when I write poetry. So I seem to be able to focus at that time of day.
What time do you wake up?
Yeah. So, it depends. If I have to do something, I wake up at 8. And if I don't have to do something, I wake up at 10.
Whatever works. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your cat's here. I'm glad Joseph, everybody's here. Fantastic.
Linda and I are both in a poetry book that's coming out in April.
You told me about this, but you have the details, so why don't you share them?
Yeah. Well, I'll let Linda tell you about it because I've talked too long.
All right. Well, you're just cutting into her time now. You're programming her 6 minutes of fame or whatever it is. Okay, that's fine. So Linda, that'll be on your list of things
Just
to
want
talk
to
about.
tell you, congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you. Caught me off guard, but I'm happy. I proposed twice, and she's like, "Yeah, whatever." And then all of a sudden, we're married. We're getting married. It was very strange, but it's a good thing. And we're gonna have a big party on May 12 of next year, and it'll be a Saturday is the 11th, and she turns 70, and Sunday's the 12th, and we're gonna have the party for the wedding. So mark that down in your calendar. May 12th, 2023.
You have to have a party in Canada as well.
Oh, count me in. What was the name of that place where we had dinner by the water in that bay
Oh,
that
do
Richard
you remember, Adelia? We'll find out.
We were at
Something-
Maple Bay, and now I can't remember the name of the
Not
restaurant.
Maple
I'm
Bay.
sorry, but it was beautiful.
It was named after the bay, I think, too. I'll go
Yeah,
back.
we'll do
I'll
our
go back
research.
there.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
You could have just keep on having parties, Paul.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, parties all through the bioregion.
Well, we've got some plans for that as well.
Yeah.
All right. We go from Anne to Adelia, so not far down the road. How far are you guys? Like 20-minute drive from each other?
About an hour, unfortunately. I wish it was
hour
only
drive.
20 because then we'd see each other a bit more. But it's
Oh, that's
or a
right.
bit
Jeez.
more-
You're north of Nanaimo?
yeah,
Ann?
so maybe a bit more than an hour. I haven't timed
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but we hope to get together soon. It's just been too slushy here. It's been treacherous. It's been very treacherous. Anyway, I just want to say that everyone's check-in is a hard act to follow. I'm very moved by what people are sharing. The full range of human experience has just been shared in the last few minutes. Like, it's just quite amazing. And my own check-in is similar to Anne. Weather events have made life quite quiet. But it's been really good for writing in some ways. I've been on a bit of a Paul Celan jag, listening to him or Pierre Jory speak about him almost every morning. And I was kind of on a roll when the class materials showed up. So the poem that I have isn't necessarily reflective of that, though I really adored the Japanese diary and I copied a little bit. So Paul, I sent you an email. You could share that if you wanted, or I could just read and not worry about sharing. But I just want to say the piece that I got from the Japanese Poetic Diary was that bit where it said, from tendencies that may most conveniently be traced to Shinto animism, the poetic diarists were led to prize the purity and preciousness of the world men were born to, and yet to feel the rigor of change and evanescence. And I had, before the materials showed up, started a journal that said, journal 2022. So this felt like a nice boost to that. And I hope to continue and to just really inquire into what that kind of writing would look like. So the other thing I've started doing, because it's been really quiet, is I've been doing the I Ching more often and getting into a book called The Gene Keys, which is also loosely based on the I Ching, if anybody's familiar with it. So this is a response. And then, of course, Pablo Neruda, who I pull out. So I'll just read from this. And just to say, it's a little bit all over the place still. It just keeps going in different places. And maybe it's because it doesn't want to close. This is just the first part of something that will continue. And that's a really different way of looking at it. I kept before the class, I was thinking, oh, I should end this somewhere, but I don't have an ending yet. So I ended up cutting a little bit, but we'll keep going with it. And maybe that's something you could comment on, Paul. So also what I'm thinking about, like the second hexagram is the Yin hexagram. The first one is totally yang, all the straight lines through. If anybody else does the I Ching, you'll recognize what I'm talking about. The second one is yin, is pure yin, and also means the field, which really interests me because of Charles Olson's The Field and the energy in the field. And this is the second poem I've written in the last little while that has a bit of a field theme. And yeah, I think I'll just read it and we'll go from there. The Ars Poetic of the Field. And I don't think the poem is living up to the title yet, come to think of it. So obviously I've got a bit of a ways to go, but let's go. So the Ars Poetica of the Field, with lines from Pablo Neruda's Ars Poetica. We interview the world between shadow and space through the implicit gap of is not in the metaphor, between the split bars of the second hexagram, kun, or open field. When one lives in a jar of pure yin, one may experience a certain feeling of dislocation and a longing for guests who will feast on stems of light, drunk on the scent of lilacs. I seek for wings that write on wet wood. 2, the trumpeter swans, though not featured on the totem poles in town, graze in the fields of the Cowichan Valley. These swans are and are not mythology's punctuation. They're flickering W's, starkly white against gray rain clouds. They're trumpeting, jazzing up the sky. And the evening star is not desire and exile, just as my mother is and is not a silken scarf, was and was not a lifeless body zipped into a bag. Our family's prayers clustered along the edge of the zipper like fireflies as the elevator's doors closed without ceremony and her body was sucked down. A bell cracked a little, a mirror tarnished. My blue eyes are not my mother's, are a Viking warrior daisy chain of DNA from my father's side, though I'll never know between whose Celtic thighs in which Hebrides meadow it began. I am dark water's ripple, I am reed canary's husk. I will be the river god's wife and dwell in a hut with stilts at the estuary. We'll buy a sissy little shower curtain and keep the window open a crack to allow the night to enter with its high voices, its coattails of stars. In the unbounded expanse of night collapsing in my bedroom, I dream of going shopping for cloth to make a dress for my mother, the flowered material unwound like a shroud. And then I wake remembering that I am one of the caretakers of the fog of a deserted house. If I were to approach the boatman on the river Styx to take me across for a quick visit, visitors allowed on Sundays between 2 and 4, family members only, I'd use a special passport from a secret drawer with an overexposed photograph showing a chameleon woman, her eyes nursing the same far thirst as those who drink the water of the river Leith. I think it's Leith, haven't heard it said. And that's where I'm at, but it's not done, this poem.
Lethe. I think it's Lethe, but
Lethe.
somebody
Which is
chimed in
the-
on the chat.
Yeah, which is the
Totally
water
awesome
of forgetfulness, the river of forgetfulness that you can drink in the underworld.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there I'm at. It's just not ready to stop the poem, so we'll carry on. But
Well,
I'm really liking the journaling too. I think it's helping. Sorry, Paul, what were you going to say?
No,
Yeah.
keep going. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful start. Oh, there's so many lines I could go back to. There's just so much in it. It's just so rich. I'd have to start talking about the whole thing again or just read it again. I mean, and the fact that we're losing parents, that's a common thing, and how I can, feel the resonance with what KJ was doing and how you're dealing with it. And my mom's still alive, so I mean, this is medicine for me. This is a lesson, not only to be prepared for when my mom dies. I asked Allen Ginsberg that. I said, about the poem Autumn Leaves, which I had him end on, and he said, that's a good poem to have it end on. And I said, I want to ask you about that, but I'll wait till after you read the poem. And I did, and I said, did you ever, when you were a young poet, think you'd be writing these old man poems like this? And he said, yeah, because I'd read William Carlos Williams. And then he recited The Act from memory by William Carlos Williams about cutting the flowers. Don't cut them. Do you know that Williams poem?
No, I would love to hear it if you want to pull it up, because it seems apropos of
Yeah, it does.
KJ and I and what we're
Yeah,
dealing
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
My grief is a little, my mom's been gone for over a year now, but it was her birthday recently and just got it going.
it's the collected later poems, right? Oh, here we go. The Act. Page 96. And Ginsberg, he just, off the top of his head, The Act. There were the roses in the rain. Don't cut them, I pleaded. They won't last, she said, but they're so beautiful where they are. Ah, we were all beautiful once, she said, and cut them and gave them to me in my hand.
Oh, that's haiku like. That's gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah, so
Senru.
Senyu, yes.
Mm.
Well, so I mean, these poems that we do for each other, these poems that we do for ourselves, they're medicine for other people. There's going to be someone who reads Laura's poem and is going to go, holy shit, look at this. And then when they get the background on it, they're going to go, oh my God, it's going to be that one more level of appreciation for what she accomplished with that. And it's similar with this. Both you and KJ, you deal with this kind of thing, and then it makes it easier for us to deal with. We want to go back to it. Gives us an opportunity to go back to it. So it's a good thing you're not finished. It's a good thing you're not trying to tie a bow on the end of it. And don't worry about the Ars Poetica of the field. You don't have to write to that. People will get that from whatever you do inside that. And I think you've covered it well. You've got personal mythology in there. You've got place in there. You've got, you're recognizing what's in your place with the trumpeter swans, and that they're not featured on the totem poles in town, that little tidbit. I think it's all fantastic. Beautiful.
Great. Well, thank you.
You
Thanks
wanted me to comment on something specific, though. Maybe you could comment on that, you said.
Oh, I don't. Just about. Well, you already have. It was that idea that. What I was struggling with is the poem wasn't wrapping itself up. It seemed to want to keep going in lots of different directions, and other poets have spoken to it as well. And I'm just interested in that, of how I think Pierre Jory was speaking about it as Paul Celan's poems seem to transition into serial poems, and he's saying that they just have to be read a different way. And I'm not writing thinking, oh, this is going to be a serial poem, or oh, it just kind of, I'm letting the poem do what it does. But I'm trying to feel a bit more relaxed about the fact that it may not wrap up neatly, that it's messy. It's going to be messy. And it seems to be going all kinds of crazy places. And I'm thinking, well, does this fit? And yet and then I realized later, well, of course it fits, though I didn't know it consciously. You've got a river god in there, and you've got the river Lethe. And that's how that showed up, but I wasn't doing that consciously. So I think it's about just keeping the reins loose, as our favorite, Black poet, his name will come to me in a minute, the way he speaks about his poetics in his interview with you, and how he keeps the reins loose.
Fred Waugh?
No.
Did you say Black poet?
Black, yeah.
There was a Fred
Writes
Waugh.
about jazz a ton. Usually his name would be right there.
Nate Mackey?
Nate Mackey.
Yeah.
And I loved how he spoke about his poetics. So I'm thinking that, but I think it just happens. I don't think it's about not being scared, I guess.
Well,
not panicking.
Fred said, no, I wouldn't worry about that poem being messy. That poem coheres, first of all, number one. Number two, let's look at this ending that you have. I'd use a special passport from a secret drawer with an overexposed photograph showing a chameleon woman, her eyes nursing the same far thirst, Neruda quote, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that phrase.
As those who drink the water of the river Lethe. I mean, You put us on the edge of hell, on the edge of the waters of forgetfulness, the classic metaphor of crossing to the other side of the river, Siddhartha all over it. I mean, come on, what's wrong with that ending? And it doesn't have to be an ending. To keep writing from that is beautiful. Fred, in the interview that I just did with him, Fred Waugh, had a line that I'm going to horribly paraphrase, but I could find the specifics because it's in my notes. I didn't write in this. I didn't feel good about writing in this little chapbook that Fred inscribed to me. So, or that he sent to me. Did he inscribe it? I think he inscribed the other book. But it was something about these painfully predictable endings or something like that. And yours wasn't painfully predictable. And I think that's what we should do. And, you know, Sam had another phrase that I think comes to mind when he talks about the open, and he called it the sequential poem. He didn't call it the serial poem, which might be helpful to you, the sequential poem. But he talked about having a provisional conclusion. So to me, that
yeah,
makes
thank
a
you.
lot of
That's the
sense.
phrase I was looking for. That's super helpful, is thinking of it that way. I really feel like this poem has only a provisional conclusion at the moment. And there was, yeah, so thanks. That's been helpful. And
Yeah.
I've taken up enough time. I think I should let others.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Anne wants
Can
to
I say
chime in.
something?
Yes, please.
Can I say something about the trumpeter swans?
Yeah, please.
I don't know if this is true, but what I read was that the trumpeter swans almost went extinct in BC. And a man somewhere up in the north of BC was taking care of a small family of them that somehow survived. I think, you know, in the last century, ladies had been using them for feathers for their hats or something like that. Then flocks of them suddenly appeared on Vancouver Island quite recently, like in the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And I didn't know you had some where you are, but they're like recent survivors that have just, you know, suddenly arrived on the island and are doing really well.
Well, there's
So,
quite a
so
few around here. There's like the field near where I live.
yeah,
I lost count, but over 100. Just
yeah.
phenomenal.
So
Great
they're like
field.
they're like gifts because they had all disappeared.
Yeah, they show up in Skagit Valley too, right around where Rob Lewis lives. Lots and lots and lots of them. And usually around Valentine's Day weekend is the weekend to go birding and see them all. But I think that's maybe moving up a little bit because of the climate change. I did find the Fred Waugh interview prep, and I'm gonna go to that because it answers two questions. The notion of a poetic journal, or uta niki, is the Japanese phrase I was looking for, or to be a smartass like BP Nickel and write a poem called "You Too, Nikki," and then here it is, Tom Wayman. How do you avoid writing poems with an ominously predictable ending? That's the need to avoid tying it up in a nice little bow. And, you know, I think what you did is very effective. So I'll leave it at that and stop the share.
Okay, well, thank you. That helps me. It's what's interesting is that almost mechanical sense of unease from old habit.
Yeah, well, you know.
But it's okay to it's a great kind of place to live, is in that discomfort.
Yes, it makes for poetry. I remember Ed Doran saying that he was educated at the University of Illinois and uneducated at Black Mountain College. And I think about that a lot.
We're all being uneducated. It's great.
Yeah, well, I work on it every day. Although I haven't been drinking in the new year, so I'm saving that up. So it's harder to be uneducated when you're not drinking.
January.
Yes, exactly. It's working, I think. Okay. Now, Skylar from Wichita. First, the obligatory weather report, I think, or what weather disaster, what weather does, and you know, Tim, we laugh about this, but Tim Mateer may be going through freeze #2 in Austin, Texas, because I hear the Southeast US just got pasted with a snowstorm and power out everywhere. So Tim might be power out. So we shouldn't laugh about it, but I mean, the sign, the way things are moving. All right, Skylar, I'll shut up now.
All right, right now it's a moderate 43 degrees here in balmy Wichita. Having a good time. It's full on dark, and I've been nibbling on my supper because I'm 2 hours behind you. I was intrigued that you asked about names for where we write, because as a matter of fact, I do have a name. A few years ago, I remodeled my basement into an art studio. So I always called it the Down Under Art Studio. And so when I started needing to write at home, I preferred to write in coffee shops, but the pandemic drove me to the house. So I set up this space here in the attic. And so I call it the Up Above Writing Studio. So yeah.
And did you get a poem for that?
No, I don't have a poem for that. I just have.
Mhm.
As for what I did during break, in December, I completed a workshop with Kim Chang, who writes as QM Zhang. She did a workshop on how to write memoir when you're working from incomplete sources. And it was fabulous. Highly recommend her and her approach. One concept she worked with us on was, she suggested that we have a container for our writing. And so something else, you know, like some people use recipes, some different various things. I'm using a museum kind of overwriting metaphor, which is working really well because I've got photos, old newspaper articles, poems, prose writing, everything that I want to combine. And so having these museum exhibits has been fabulous. And then it also expands into what is going to be offered for sale in the museum gift shop. So it at first I kind of resisted it because it just seemed like this is a lot of extra work to have this other thing to think about. But now I completely see the value in it. So that's helping me organize this saturation project that we've been working on.
The Museum of Skylar.
Yeah.
And you have to exit through the gift shop, is what you're saying.
Yes, always. Or enter, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And let's see, in December, I was recognized for 30 years of teaching at the same institution. And I want you guys to guess how they honored me. No takers? I got a $100 gift certificate to the college bookstore. So I didn't really want to go get a sweatshirt with their name on it. So I just gave the card to my dean and said, you know, next time you've got a student coming through here who's having troubles paying for their books, this is what you just please give this to somebody who can benefit. So that was exciting. I am retiring in May, so yay. I've just been asked to do my first solo art show at a local gallery, and that'll happen in April and May. I'm doing a show, it's going to be called House Party, and it's a series of portraits of my house, which was built in 1914, and I'm doing it in the style of a dozen local artists. So.
12 different artists locally, and you kind of adapt their method to painting your own house. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wild.
I already did the first one. It's the easiest one because it's a local cartoonist. Do you want to see it?
Yes, I want to see it. I was just going to ask you that.
Okay, let me bring it up here. Okay, so on one side is one of his works of art that I own. This is called Hitchhiker, So this is Richard's style. It's really typical of it. And so this is my house done in Richard's style. You see?
That is so fantastic. That's amazing.
It's really going to be fun.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah, I've got, I agreed to the show, even though I don't have the paintings ready yet.
Sometimes that's the best way.
Yeah, I do respond to a deadline. So let's see, anything else? Yeah, I think that's my stuff. Yeah. Is anybody interested in a link to Kim Chang memoir workshop?
Yeah, drop it in the chat, please.
Man,
Where there are 5 messages I haven't looked at.
it's just like your workshops, Paul. I mean, part of the value is the information in the workshop, but then the people I met, incredible, the writers I met. So yeah, I'll drop that in.
Were they from all over the continent?
Yeah. A lot of Kim's own work has to do with writing about her immigrant Chinese father. So I think so she attracts a lot of people that have that similar background, sort of an Asian background, adoptees, immigrants. So half the class was probably had that sort of background, but yeah, it was from all over the country. And it was, they were astonishing writers, just
Fantastic.
yeah.
Any writing that you're not going to share? Any writing?
I've got one, but it's kind of a bummer.
Go for it.
Right. Well, this is a real recent one. My brother has been in touch with me after I've been estranged from my family for decades, but my brother's in touch because, the older generation is dying.
Where do they live?
My brother lives here in town.
Wow. And you haven't been in touch with them for how long?
25 years. So, yeah.
I talked to all my siblings yesterday with the news, my mom, and then my brother and my 2 sisters, but didn't tell my daughter. My daughter's tuned me out. So it's hard.
It is hard. Yeah, this is something recent. This was before the estate sale. And I have a quote. I was listening to Lyle Lovett on YouTube, and in an NPR Tiny Desk concert, he said, "Pretend like this is going well." And I thought that should be the motto for my family. That's our family crest. So anyway, do you want the cedar chest? My brother texts. He's organizing my parents' belongings. It should have become mine 30 years ago, stuffed with a white bridal negligee and home goods, but I was already the no good black sheep. So on my wedding day, Mom kept the heirloom and my embroidered dowry to herself. My Cherokee great-grandmother put a stick of cedar, a cockleburr, leaves of dry sage, and a white rock in a medicine pouch she wrapped around my 5-year-old waist, muttering. It didn't keep the evil spirits away, but she didn't know that. Or maybe she knew nothing could keep them away, but she could help me defeat them. In our oldest photos, she's 80, round as a keg of spring water, frowning at the camera. For all of us, water in our bodies is a temporary guest. Without it, we're flat as paper. Great-grandmother was a thunderstorm last week. I'll be ocean soon enough. Right now, I'm a weather pattern holding over Wichita, while my stone monument waits in Red Hill Cemetery off an Oklahoma dirt road. Soon, I'll be ink on pages among all the other leaves in our family albums. Will cedar aromatics keep evil away from what's left of us? Or are we the evil chained? Yes, I finally say, yes, I want the cedar chest.
It's fantastic. That's not a downer. It's beautiful. I especially love my great-grandmother was a thunderstorm last week. That's fantastic. Oh my God, that's killer line. Oh my God, beautiful. Fantastic. I wanted something else that went through my mind, but you took it off. But
oh, you want it back?
Yeah, I think for just a minute. I think we're gonna have Linda give us the update on the book and then take a pee break, and then Linda can do her update without fear of going long. Um, I'll be ocean soon enough. I'm reminded of the paper and the fruit in Laura's poem. Yeah, I was just thinking. I was just thinking of the red dirt in Oklahoma when I first went through Oklahoma. How the dirt was red. So Enid, Oklahoma, is that where your burial? Is that where?
No, not Enid, Hammond, but I am familiar with Enid. It seems for the previous generation, everybody was homesteaders, and so they all lived out in the country and farms and stuff. But as they got older and not capable and needed to be near hospitals, it seemed like most of that previous generation moved to Enid to die. I mean, so yeah, I'm pretty familiar with Enid, Oklahoma.
Ain't that something? Frowning at the water. I'm looking at old pictures. I went through old pictures because they set fire to a Christmas tree on the 90 miles to Cuba sign, or this it's not really a monument, but they burned a Christmas tree as a prank or something. Then they realized they created $5,000 worth of damage on this thing that's very important to Cuban Americans. And some bartender said, I served those guys three rounds each. And he checked the receipts, and sure enough, they found the guys. They were, they said they fucked up. So I was looking through old pictures, looking for me in front of that. Oh my God, if I showed you some of these pictures. Oh my God. What? Oh, at 24 years old or something.
Yeah.
Skinny as fuck. I have them in a box in Ella's room. I'd have to go get them while we take our pee break if I do it. But the point is, I'm looking through these photos and I'm seeing photo after photo of my mom not smiling. I wonder if I have an example. Here we go.
Yep.
The bottom one especially. Can I put that up there? Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, she's not happy. She's not happy to be here. What's that?
Like a hostage.
Yeah, kind of. If you. Oh shit! I gotta write that down. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, that's so perfect. Looks like a hostage. So anyway, yeah, going through these old photos, that could be an Paul Hunter did that one time as a workshop. Bring a photo that has some value, some sentimental value to you, and we had to write a poem about that photo, which is a good exercise. Okay, so every time we share screen, my Brady Bunch thing gets scrambled here, but I did remember that Linda Crossfield was next. And so here's what I'd like to propose. That Linda tell us about the book that she and Anne have work in, and then we take a pee break, and then she comes back and gets her normal time. It doesn't feel like she's been talking for too long. And for those who have cats, we had a Zoom reading. I wonder if I could find this. Maybe I should just recite it from a sort of paraphrase it from memory, but all right, I'll do it from memory. Even on the Zoom call, the cat has to show us his asshole or something like that. I don't know what it was. He's got an audience even on Zoom. All right, so Linda, there's the Kim Chang's workshop. Okay, very cool. Linda, tell us about the book.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. It's an anthology. It's called Worth More Standing. If you give me a second, I think I can screen share the cover, maybe, and maybe not.
Oh, I sent it to you.
You sent me the cover. Okay, it was that it? One of the emails that had your poems?
No, before.
No. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, it's in a funny link, and I can't quite get at it so that you'd be able to see it. But anyway, it's a picture of a tree, oddly enough. And Christine Lowther is the editor. She's a BC poet and nonfiction writer. And she put out a call for poems to do with trees. And that's the anthology we're in. I have 9 lines. I have 3 Senryu in it.
Yeah,
we-
there it is.
There it is.
Yeah,
Caitlin Press,
Yeah.
yeah.
far out. So here, Bill Bissett, Eve Joseph, Patrick Friesen, Joy Kogawa, Fiona Tinway Lamb, Harold Renish, Jay Rozeski, John Barton, Kate Braid, Kim Trainer, Kim Goldberg, Sana LeBay, Susan McCaslin, Susan Musgrave, Tom Wayman, who I think had that quote about, isn't that right? Ominously
Yeah,
predictable
yeah,
endings?
he
Same
did,
guy?
yeah.
Trevor Carolyn, Yvonne Blomer, Zoe Dickinson, and the late Pat Lothar, who Christine's mom.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Far out. I'll drop that in the chat. I'll stop share. I'll drop that in the chat.
Yeah.
It's 512, which is Tim Mateer's zip code or area code, by the way, 512, which makes me think of him. So I'm going to mute myself and come back in 4 or so minutes, and then
Okay.
we'll start with Linda. All right. See you.
Ready to have some soup?
I'm not quite finished my class, but in a minute. Did you have some?
I called Tim, no answer. I tried to find the photo of me in Key West. Didn't find it with a quick scan, but I found a photo from earlier in the Museum of Paul to Steele Schuyler's. It's about a year before my poetry career started.
Excellent. Excellent. Love the haircut.
I have the same haircut. Oh my God. So I see a lot of blank screens. So I'll assume, oh, there's CJ. Ingrid, are you there? Ingrid iPad? No. There's Laura's back. Waiting on Adelia is Susan, Adelia, and Ingrid. There's Adelia. All right, just a minute here. You like the book cover, huh? It was a picture of Don Pullen, or a painting. Well, a picture of a painting of Don Pullen that was done by a guy named William or Bill Turner, who died about 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Had Parkinson's. And oh, I did that while I was on retreat. I wrote him an elegy and did a video poem. Oh, maybe there'd be time for that. I can pull that up. Ingrid, are you back? She's probably still here. She has the earbuds. Or she might be flushing the toilet. Who knows what's going on right now? I don't want her to miss any of this material. So I'd like to wait just another minute. And then we also want to know if she wants her. Oh, there you are, Ingrid. Bhakti wants to know if you want your jam jars back.
It's not worth the mailing fee.
Says it's not worth it, darling.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
tell her thank you. And if you know anybody that cans jam, give it to them.
You can give it to someone who cans jam if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
She knows some canners. Your sister,
Terrific.
for instance, her sister, who makes her own goat cheese. What did she make us? Oh, the apple butter. Holy shit, the apple butter.
Whoa.
Yeah. We had to go to store-bought jam now, Ingrid. You sustained us for months.
Well, I got more coming. Paul.
Uh-oh. Well, thank you. We love it. Okay, so Linda gets her real check-in. Then Susan, who's been there quietly, now in sort of the middle square. And then CJ. So, Linda, here we are.
Okay, yeah, it's been quite a fall for me too. My mom departed on the 1st of November, which, yeah, still going through that. It's weird not driving to Nelson all the time. I haven't been to Nelson since a week before Christmas, because then we got massive quantities of snow. And it's just not worth your life to be out driving on those roads if you don't have to be. So I haven't been. I basically, since my fall was, I just basically fell off everything. I haven't written. I haven't. I basically, I believe KJ referred to being in a house coat on the easy chair, watching whatever. That sounded very familiar. However, I have had a few nice things happen. getting a poem in that anthology was one of them. I have a nonfiction short piece in another anthology that's coming out from the same publisher, actually, to do with Kootenai women and how you ended up here or whatever. One of my poems is longlisted for the Federation of BC Writers contest, which was a nice surprise. And if you remember that poem I wrote, it came out of one of our classes last year, and there's a line in it about across the river, my friend is making dog food. It got picked up and is being published by Freefall magazine. So that was kind of neat. Regarding the stuff that we had, that you gave, I've just been so anti-Zoom and I almost didn't come to class. I mean, I was almost ready to, that's sort of where my headspace has been. But I thought, no, it'll be good for me and I know I'll enjoy it. And I already realized that I was absolutely right about that. I'm so delighted to see all of you. The Olsen thing didn't do it for me at all. Well, one thing, the audio on the video you gave us was, you know, my hearing isn't as good as it used to be anyway. And it's just like, what the hell? I couldn't understand it. And I did, however, this wasn't on the list of things to do, but the Fred Waugh interview was wonderful. Really, really enjoyed that, particularly when he said, no one asks what music means. You know, he said, you don't, and with regard to poetry, you don't have to understand it, just experience it. And I mean, so often that is what it's about for me. It's like, you know, I couldn't begin to tell you what something means, but, you know, it still speaks to you. What else? Oh, and I like the part about the Japanese diary. That made a lot of sense to me. I journal fairly regularly all the time anyway. It was really funny, the weekend that my mom actually died, I went in, I had a meeting to go to early on the Saturday morning, and then I drove into Nelson after that directly to go and visit her. And then it turned out that this was going to be the weekend. So I didn't have my journal. I didn't have any writing materials with me. I like, it was bizarre. Like I always have writing stuff with me. You know, so it was sort of a little message to live in the moment, I think, and it was good, but it was kind of weird, you know, that I didn't have anything to write on at the time that all that was going on. So I did sort of a catch up a couple of days later. But anyway, yeah, that's where I'm at. Haven't really got anything to share at this particular point, but I expect I will.
And dog food pays off.
Exactly.
Tell us about the magazine and how that happened.
Oh, Freefall magazine. It's a literary magazine out of Alberta, I believe. Yeah. So I submitted a whole bunch of stuff last year. I finally made myself do that, and yeah, you know, starting to get responses. Usually no, the occasional yes. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the way it is.
Yeah, the Caitlin Press thing. How long? And first of all, the dog food, was that the Berrigan collage sonnet?
Yeah, and I ended up taking lines from postcard poems and then just putting them in different order. So there's like 4 poems, all using the same lines, but all the same 10 lines, but in different order.
Right, I remember. I remember reading somewhere connected to Berrigan that he had an assignment, or someone maybe likening it to Berrigan, I forget. It was a Berrigan connection. And they said that, okay, and in one line of the sonnet, you have to put a cliche, right? And well, some poets, you know, you have to tell them about that, but it was meant to be ironic. And so it occurred to me that I would give you guys a suggestion and not make it mandatory, that you can include not a cliche, but a line from a website which features many of the original lines of Yosemite Sam. So I'm going to do that. And I just want to see if the word varmint shows up or something like that.
How could could it not?
Well, because there's a lot of good Yosemite Sam lines, and so I'm going to put that on the on the week 2 thing, just in case you want to do that. So I'll re-explain. Tim's going to wonder what he missed when he sees that one, but that's what happens when you miss the class. So Yosemite Sam. So I'm glad you're getting published. I understand that weather and husband and mom is all leading you to. One thing Joanne Kiger said in a workshop about journaling, in a workshop that referenced Sei Shonagon, so very similar to the Utaniki, the pillow talk, the stuff you're writing to yourself, although Sei Shonagon is a master at it, and that we're reading her 1,000 years later is fantastic. And that Joanne Kiger was talking about her is fantastic. She said, even if you write 3 lines for the day, even if you write 3 lines, you're in business. And in her book of that she wrote for the curriculum of the soul, proprioception. I think I've showed this before. I've shown this before. No, not proprioception. Phenomenological. This is Joanne Kiger. By the way, this will be for next week, so you're going to get a sense of a specific journal approach to poetry with a Skylar, like you said, the museum, some kind of container. She's got the container of her dying friend, and that she's going to Mexico, but she says to her dying friend, Bill McNeil, we made an agreement that we would somehow meet down there. Meet is in quotes, between the real and the apparent. This is a record of that journey. And this was an assignment for a book project that came out of Charles Olson called A Curriculum of the Soul. And I think 29 different writers had a specific task. And her first entry is 3 lines. February 14, 1984. Tuesday, 10 p.m. Boldiness. Looks like we're ready. And now to bed. I mean, that was it. So it doesn't have to be, I'm going to sit down and write, a Shakespearean sonnet. It could be just what's on the top of your head, and just to keep it going. I think it's important. That's the main reason I do American Sentences is to have something every day. Every day I have my hand in something poetic. Most of those American Sentences are shit, but some of them are so iconic. I have them committed to memory and can remember the exact feelings I had, the exact situation, the color of the refrigerator that it references, and what have you. So even if you can get 3 lines, it's worth it. So consider that. Susan is back. She was out for a bit, but now here she is. And so, Susan, what did you do during your winter vacation?
Not much. Just the daily routine stuff, taking care of my parents.
Cleaning up bacon.
Seemed like it went pretty.
Bacon and egg stuff from the stove, or can you tell
They
us?
They won't eat that. That would be simple if that's what they ate for breakfast, but they don't eat that.
They eat something more
Oatmeal.
complex.
Yeah, complex oatmeal. Oh, I don't really know what to say. I realize I'm really horrible at small talk or talk. I'm sort of horrible at Zoom and things. What do I say? I'm glad to see everyone. Congratulations, Paul, on your new
Thank you.
status commitment and things. So that's great.
What about the material,
I
Susan? Was there anything in the material?
I loved the material. Barbara Kruger is, those are so intense, but they're so aggressive looking with the bold, the thick, bold letters, and there's signpost type things, but they're exciting and so thought-provoking. And then this discussion about authoritarianism and totalitarianism and history, and as a poet, the authority that you have as a poet can be misused, especially if you're well known or you're being studied or watched like Ezra Pound and things. And even in a small way, probably if you're unknown and what you write down, I mean, it seems like there's a balance. There's always a balance that you're walking, or, balance you're writing between deciding, I guess, you're always deciding, you, to let the landscape or the material come through. And then what do you impose as a human, even with words, with writing? So I know I'm saying that pretty badly, but I know there are other terms and things to use, but
Are some
but
of the
that's
terms
also
ego and rhetoric? Is that what you're referring to? How much of the ego do you
psych
let in?
psychological. I don't know if there's psychological sorts of things. It just is human nature, probably. Yeah. As humans, what are we doing with language? Creating, recording, observing beauty, and then going further and further into that. Beauty is the beginning of terror. Rilke said that, I guess, or somebody. Yeah, so this is so interesting, all those ideas. And what does it do for my poems? I don't know, but I'm sure, what I'm reading and things goes in, and it will appear in poems if I keep writing. I don't know. It's interesting hearing, about people's health challenges and things. And the pandemic is so scary. Again, it's this easy thing to forget about, but then like half an hour later, like, oh yeah, it's scary. So living with that sort of stress globally, I don't know really how to process it or what to do with it. I just don't know, like everyone else probably. And just, lots of people are writing about or keeping a diary about the pandemic. But I don't know. I want to say I sort of wanted to come up with a slogan or sort of a hardcore thing, but as soon as I sort of had something in my mind, it would sort of disappear. When I walk here, this area is called Nonpareil because the road is named Nonpareil, and there was a store, the Nonpareil store, up the road, but it's gone now. So this place, I guess, could be called Nonpareil. There's a little cemetery around the corner called Fair Oaks. That's another little sort of community, or used to be, the pioneers and things. And some of the oak trees are still there. You can see them, they're beautiful and old. Some have fallen down, and then instead of using the wood, the person whose land they're on just burnt the old oak tree for days. It was like a year ago. You could smell it in the whole valley. I don't know, it's a pretty evocative landscape, but pretty boring too. It's nothing like an urban thing where there are museums and concerts and things. But I would not want to go to those, I guess. I'm scared even to go to the YMCA is open again. You used to, I guess, last couple of years you had to make an appointment to go, but now you don't have to do that to use the pool. And I was going to take my mom, but then I chickened out and just going to wait to do that some more. Just wait some more. So a lot of waiting. Yeah, waiting could be a theme. Waiting to live or something. Anyway, nice to see everyone. Happy New Year and things.
I love the story of the burning oak tree. mean, your house could be downwind from the burning oak tree or whatever. I mean, there's lots of things in what you said that could be useful, I think. This side of the graveyard, I mean, is another one, you know. I mean, there's such richness in that. And I think when we're worried or when we feel stuck, that's the best time to write, because it allows, even if you understand, number one, you can write anything you want as long as you don't show anybody, like Ginsberg said. I mean, that's beautiful. That's part of the beauty of the postcard fest. It's like one person's going to see this, maybe two if you count the letter carrier, right? Because sometimes they say, hey, this is a good one, So I think you don't worry about whether anyone's going to see it or not, or whether you're going to show anyone, and just write it to get it to learn what you think. Like William said, I think this is really important. And I love Joanne's approach to write every day, even if you've just got 3 lines. And of course, at the end of whatever trip she's done to Mexico, she doesn't have to publish it all. She calls through it and gets the best parts of it. I did learn one thing for sure in rereading this, is that her husband blows his nose a lot. And that Joanne's dreams were murderous. She was having murderous dreams, which is fascinating. You talk about personal myth, and here she is having certain dreams. I guess you'll get to see it. But dreams of, I forget exactly what it is, but it's perpetuating violence of some kind. So, these models hopefully help, and we all go through dry spells, and hopefully get kickstarted by some of this stuff. I thought the Emil Alcalay interview or the essay, Some Notes on a Little History, would garner a little more. I know that Carlton mentioned it in an email today, and in fact in a comment on the website. And I went back and read that again, and that's rich material for Olson, and how who was a woman writer who found it? I think it was Kathleen Fraser, who found Olson liberating. This was like permission. Projective verse was seen as permission. And I think that maybe there's part of that lurking underneath the writing thing for all of us. What kind of permission do I need to have to be able to do that? And the permission is yours. I think the worry is if it's going to be any good. That's what we all think. I don't know if this is any good. But I remember Clark Coolidge saying that in the movie about the 1963 Vancouver Poetry Conference. He said, he was sitting there with Michael Palmer. He says, I don't know if these poems are any good. I mean, here he is, a guy looking back at a iconic conference 50 years later and wondering if it was or not. And so, I mean, even people with the highest recognition in this culture wonder about it. And if they don't wonder about it, they're fooling themselves. So hopefully you'll be able to just write some notes down. And I think it's a great method to put it in one file, one word file, and just to have it keep writing underneath that. And sometimes you look up and you can write off what you'd just written, like Sam did that, McClure did that, and others did that, where they take the line. Judy Kleinberg did that in her postcard poems. She'd write a postcard poem, and then she'd take the line that she ended with and start there. You talk about seriality, that's one aspect to it. So, but it's great to see you here, Susan. I'm grateful that you're here, and I don't know what it's like to take care of old parents, although I do make very good oatmeal. I mix it with quinoa, and usually put in chia seeds and flax seeds and diced a sliced banana and cashews, and that varies sometimes. Bhakti likes also the dried cherries that you get in big bags from Costco, putting some dried cherries in there. And then we serve it with toast, of course, butter and Ingrid's jam and maple syrup and milk for the oatmeal. So we have oatmeal at least once a week. So I don't know if you go to those links or put in quinoa, but quinoa's got a lot of protein in it, so kind of tasty. And then of course the chia seeds. Anytime I mention chia seeds in a recipe, someone says, "Ooh, that's so healthy," but they're tasty. So buttermilk pancakes this morning. I'm the breakfast guy, if you haven't guessed. It's my job to cook breakfast. So I've got a whole arsenal of, in fact, one of my breakfast recipes, I think, was published in a Subud PDF. It's a book, not a book, it's a PDF. It was called Quarantine Cuisine. So maybe I could send you one of my breakfast recipes. I had pancakes, and I think it's called Poet's eggs. Sometimes I call them garden eggs, where you put greens in the pan after the olive oil. You put greens in there and sun-dried tomatoes. I usually use the sun-dried tomatoes to create the sort of oil. I don't even have to use olive oil. Just get these greasy sun-dried tomatoes that are in the jar from Costco. All right, I'm babbling. Ingrid is next. Ingrid, hello. We worried about you because you weren't there at 4:06, and we we're going, oh my God, I hope it's not weather. Have you had bad weather? You've already gone through your floods already?
No, we're out in the East Coast. It's just bitter cold here. And we did have snow.
How cold is bitter cold?
Bitter cold is just in the teens, in the the 1 digit, 7 degrees, 8 degrees, that kind of stuff.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah, well, Fahrenheit,
Yes.
not zero, not like it used to be, but it just feels bitter cold, everything covered with ice and gray, just gray, 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 even though it's getting lighter every day. I read everything that we had here, and basically what I was getting ready for was my second knee replacement, which got canceled, Susan, because of COVID in November. And again, they called me this week. It's not going to be on Tuesday now. Off again. After you go through all the testing, all the doctor visits, all the, anesthesiologists setting up the in-home rehab. It's just one step after another after another. It's so frustrating. I know that's nothing like the people that are in the hospital or the people that are sick, but it's very frustrating. So off again until April. I just want to get my leg back. I have been writing because I noticed like October, November, December, very little submitted and very little published. And so I've been getting, acceptances from Verse Virtual, and one from Sanctuary Magazine, and one from another place. And yesterday in the mail, I write a monthly column, called Pearl Diving, which is online writer resources on the web. I write a column every month for Between These Shores, and I serve there as an editor for the nonfiction that they publish in their magazine. And they just put out a COVID edition, and it came from England because they're in the UK, and they gave me a push cart nomination for my poem, which made me feel really good. And I was trying to, Paul, put that into words so I could send it, but could I read that? Because for me,
yes,
you're all telling family stories, and my mother's 95, and my mother, she's great in some ways, and honest to goodness, Paul, I'd like to write her off too at the same time, because she was a very neglectful parent of 9 kids. I mean, she caused a lot of damage at the same time.
Yeah, she had 9 kids. I think she was just recovering between each.
Exactly, that's a lot of kids, and
That's right.
and you have them when you can't afford them, and you simply let them loose to take care of each other. It's not very responsible. And so I've got like a lot of bitter mother poems in me, but I wrote one that was more, you look at it from both sides, like the yin and the yang you were talking about. And because I was working on a memoir, I've been working on it for 5 years with my immigrant Finnish grandparents' stories, because they're fantastic stories. But my mother gets in the way. because they're my mother's parents, but my mother gets in the way because my anger, I got to let go. I got to move on. But I managed it a little bit in this poem. So I'm going to read it because I can't figure out how to send it. Alice was beautifully exact. Alice was beautiful exactly. A mother inexactly. We strays played unsupervised, traipsed near home in fields, creek and woods near our tiny brick house. Alice reads books, takes long wanders alone, solitary bike road rides on roadsides, past meadows and thickets. I and 8 siblings grew up in a village where everybody helped raise us. My next door neighbor, Suanne, told me, Alice taught me how to dream. Mother dreamed in wildflowers, carted home, bright blooming weeds planted in the yard and garden. Weeds were as much a part of carefree childhood as classical music, singing rounds, or parents reading, constantly tucked into stacks of books. One June day, a rose bush appeared in the yard, lifted from a meadow, planted in the side lot. This hardy white wood rose thrived in clay, tolerated shade from a 2-story garage next door, and grew in standing water into a luxurious bush. Little kids crawled under thorny branches. A rose fort cave set against a tumble-down fence, sheltered in the boughs of sweet-smelling sawtooth leaves. Alice luxuriated in the concourse of bees and butterflies, feasted on the sight, the smell of rose nectar, enjoyed the birds that sheltered and nested in its branches, weeded wildflowers past dusk in the company of roses, clad in one of Dad's unironed dress shirts, oblivious to dinner for hungry kids. A nearby hedgerow of wild roses surrendered a sucker from a living roadside fence placed along a ditch to keep in livestock. She planted the bush to shade the bricks house that got oven hot in summer. A thicket swelled up to the living room window. Roots clawed the cinder blocks of the cellar. Thorns barred the faucet, gave briary scratches to anyone unwise enough to turn on the hose. Alice, whiled away years, admiring bud clusters, producing brief blooms of white radiance, 5 single petals on each flower, the roses so profuse. The old-fashioned bush looked like a grand bouquet. We and the neighbors roved freely amid the wildflowers and weeds. Our beautiful mother, with good intentions, wild as a wood rose. The fierce protector proclaimed, my rose is living. They were fodder for photos, sketches, or oil paint. We learned her mantra, I sow, not reap. No rose hipping, no rose hip jam, syrup or tea, no rosary beads, no rose schnapps bottled in fall. No one dared cut stems off Alice's roses. Anyway, that's the poem. But it made me feel good. That was like my 3rd or 4th pushcart nomination, and it just felt good. So I do belong, even if I don't always write everything, but I did read everything, and I loved that one on the pillow talk, the Japanese journaling, and I decided to call my my office the Apple Ridge, because it's the place I view the hummingbirds and I look at my wildflowers in the garden, and it's a good place to write. So I read it all and I got some things out of it. And mostly I thank you, Paul, for marrying Bhakti. I think that's a good deal. And you, Laura, you're on another transition. I mean, so many transitions here, but you guys are great. It's just a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you. That's about all I got to say.
I think we lost Adelia. Rose schnapps,
I don't make rose schnapps
but it's a
myself.
thing. It's a thing.
It really is a thing. There's
How-
so much you can do with roses.
How many people knew about rose schnapps before that poem? One. KJ. Oh, Carlton. No, not you. Somebody else. Person next to you. You're pointing to Linda, but I don't. Oh, maybe KJ is next to you on the screen. I'd never heard of rose schnapps, and but I'm fascinated by your bitter mother poems. I
They
hate
get in the way, Paul.
what's that?
They get in the way. You gotta let go. You gotta let go. And like I got a sister that's so estranged and she used to be so connected, but she needs to blame someone. And you know what? There's a time when you don't need to blame anymore. You just need to live. You just need to live. And there's good and the bad. It's not both ways.
Right.
There's always two sides to it. And if you can write a totally bitter mother poem, you're not seeing the whole picture.
So you don't want to share a bitter mother poem then? Is that what you're saying?
And, well, no, I got a whole bunch of them. They're easy to write. It's hard to write the ones that are more balanced, because there's the good and the bad. There's the both. And until I can get that balance, I'm not going to get the book right.
Your mother was a postcard poet.
She was, and Paul, she loved it. Absolutely loved it. You need to interview her, because that woman is a character.
All right, I won't tell her what you said if I interview her.
Oh, that's all right. She knows.
Did she ever drink rose schnapps?
Nah, she's not a drinker. She's just a woman with rose-colored glasses.
And she's 95?
And she's 95, and she just keeps on going.
Yeah. Well, Linda knows something about that. What was your mom, 101? 100? 101? 101. Yeah.
It's
101.
incredible.
Robert Bly, 95, died in November.
Yeah, I felt bad.
95 is a good run itself. Well, beautiful poem. I could see that rose bush. That's fantastic. What was the town where you were growing up, where that set in?
It's in Sherwood Park. It's to the east of the Hudson River, the other side of the river, in New York.
Right, that's where you go when you have to be with your mom.
Well, yeah, that's where I go.
Yeah.
Except I just take care of her finances, because she's totally irresponsible. At least I got her to stop doing all the she used to read her mail with a pen and a checkbook in hand until the money was gone. You know, that's how that, and it was for everybody else, but never. And she had kids that needed things too, not me necessarily, but other. I mean, there were others that had needs, and it just made me angry.
Like Ingrid needs a new knee, for instance.
Yeah, but I can take care of that. It's
Right.
just COVID is hard to deal with.
I know.
Like Susan said, it is hard to deal with because it's changed our life. And honestly, the beds do just keep on filling up in those hospitals.
Vaccinations and the anti-vaxxers or whatever. In Quebec, they actually were going to start fining. They actually said they were going to start fining people if they didn't get vaccinated. Oh, the other thing they did in Quebec, they said, if you're not vaccinated, you can't buy pot or alcohol. Now they're talking. See, getting serious about it.
That might actually work.
It's working. They had a rush for vaccinations when they said, we're going to find you motherfuckers if you don't get in here. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. Oh, man. That's a lot of balls to say that, huh? How does that happen? Is that the way Quebec operates? Kind of balls to the wall? Yeah, Linda's going, yes. They want to be their own country and force the world to eat poutine, I guess. I don't know. I'm just looking at the time. I'm seeing it's 5:57, and I probably should be a timekeeper about this. But Carlton, thanks, Ingrid. Really heartfelt and really beautiful. And I felt really there when you were talking about the rose bush. So fantastic. Congratulations on. I've never been nominated for a pushcart prize. So you go.
Me neither, but
Well, your time is coming, Carlton. That's what I'm thinking.
well, well, whatever.
Whatever. All right, Carlton. So you got some technology now that's going to help you do your thing?
Wait, one moment. All right, hold on.
My check-in, written during the other check-ins. First of all, congratulations to Paul on your pending marriage. It is very happy news. It is great to be here with the likes of Adelia, Anne, Ingrid, KJ, Laura, Linda, Schuyler, Susan, in alphabetical order. A lot has happened since we last met. I am now working on a serial poem on water, a tentative title on my next collection, Breathing Water, which has a lot to do with my lung issues. I have forwarded a poem to Paul called Outer Space that is based upon a recent acquisition, an O2 concentrator that I am using every night for sleep. Last month, Bonnie's the love of my life. Stepmother died of colon cancer and Parkinson's. We had gone out to see her while she was in hospice and she passed the following week. I am doing the postcards for peace for the month of February and I have my list already. I have been hearing podcasts about manifesting in your life as a different thing than prayer or hope. The name of my writing placed The Art of Breathing. Paul, if you could please read the outer space poem I sent you. Thanks.
Okay, I'm unmuted now, and I was going through the email here. Let me just go back to the email. I have welcome to the room of written water. That's one of them. That's the other one, I know. And then, here, all right, here it is. So, okay, outer space. And I'm going to share screen so that we can have outer space. So share screen. And so here's a poem for tonight. I believe. Here we go. Everybody can see. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the poem there? Yeah. Okay. Outer space. God, I love that machine talking. That was so cool. Oh, anyway, outer space. Every night I perform the same routine. I don a mask, flip the switch on, and dive beneath the undercurrents of my dreams. In the next room, my O2 concentrator keeps watch, connected to me by a green umbilical cord. Its whir continuous, sonorous, like an ocean current, lulling me to a deep sleep. Sometimes I feel weightless, floating through a realm that only I am allowed to enter. And I see winking stars, shimmering planets, and bright, colorful people populating this place, where inner space meets outer space. As I lay in my bed, my ventilator grumbles, and I stumble through that starry realm, magically breathless and unattached, to float once again. I think that's fucking
Yeah.
gorgeous. I think that's amazing. I love that.
Well, thank you. I mean, it was just like an inspired thing. This game like that, and then I had them out, but they edit from you and from there's an earlier version that doesn't have your edit in it, but I read, but they more updated version in the thing there. But anyway, it's basically all right. It's basically the same poem, but yeah. I've been trying to write more every day. Oh, anyway,
Oh, should I get him? I gotta plug in my. Well, I just had two quick edits, but they were minor. You said flip the switch on. I would say flip the on switch. Just have it like that. And then you said a ocean, and I just suggested you call it an ocean. That's just a grammatical thing.
I've started twice there by accident, so I do star, but
no, I like this. I like the 2 stars. I like the 2 stars. I would, as I was reading it aloud, I thought he probably doesn't mean to have stars in here twice, but I like the repetition of it because it kind of suggests that there's lots of them. It's like Walla Walla is Indian for lots of water, right? Something like that. No, I that's a beautiful poem. So Carlton and I were having this email dialogue, and he'd say, "Well, what about this?" And I said, "Well, it's still not getting to the meat of it. It's still a little abstract." He said, "What about this?" I said, "Ah, that's better, but it has this and this." And then didn't hear from him for a couple of days, and then he sent that. And I was like, "Yep, that's authentic." And it reminded me of the movie that's going to be part of your course materials for next week. That includes Robert Bly. That's about Robert Bly. It's a Minnesota Public TV documentary on him, and was sent to me by Andrew Hall, who's the guy who does Sika, the Zoom Muse, Poems for Peace we're doing now. In fact, Sharon Thiessen is featured Thursday at 11 a.m. She's going to be our featured poet for January. She's fantastic. She did a teaser for it, and it's on the Sika website, and I've been meaning to put a post on my site. But that's Thursday at 11. And so he sent me that, and Bly talks about, is this a poem really from you, or is it from your persona? And I think we all have to deal with that. Is this really, is this the real thing? And one of the ways we get to it is to have the specifics, right? It's the bacon and egg that we're wiping up from the stove. It's the rose bush and no rose schnapps coming from it. When we get into the specifics, we get into things like the personal myth. What's the personal myth of it? What does oatmeal say about a personal myth? I think that's fantastic. So the Bly movie, which is about an hour long and is fantastic, will be part of it. And I tune your attention to Bly's use of the word, talking about persona, and also Bly, a rejection note that he wrote to someone. I want you to keep your eye out for that. He did a magazine called the 50s. Then when it turned to the 60s, the magazine changed the name to the 60s, and then the 70s, and people would send him poems, and he would send him rejection letters. And there's one in there that you got to see because it's classic Bly, whose work I kind of ignored for a long time. He was a friend of Sam Hamill's. I ignored him. I read a little bit of Iron John. I did some of the men's work, and I had respect for the men's work because men's work is ultimately about making men more emotionally literate. I was going to, I still want to share the poem for Bill Turner because I showed you his painting that's on the cover of my book. And I did it during my retreat, and I could have done it as my poem for the check-in. So I'm going to do that real quick and go to my YouTube. I wonder if you'll be able to hear it. Ode to Bill Turner. as soon as it starts making sound. No, we can't hear it, can we? I have to take out the head. Is there any sound coming from that? You guys are hearing that? No? Okay. So I got to unplug my mic and my thing. Hold on a second. Here we go. And your microphone is not working. See if this works. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear. No. No sound. It's not going to work. Dag nabbit. Well, I'll tell you what. I've got to get the tech. I got to get the tech right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop this link in the chat and stop the screen share. This technology, sometimes I need an engineer, so I'm going to do that. Anyway, I think you got a lot out of it, Carlton, and we've had a discussion online, so you've gotten some guidance from me about that. And so Carlton says, thanks everyone. It means so much to read your comments, especially during the reading. For some reason, I could not hear my voice, so I had to wait until the end for feedback. Yeah, I think that machine was fantastic. I was looking at the faces of everybody, and they were like an expression of awe on people's faces, and it's fantastic. But I'm grateful also that you speak, and that you're here, and that you're part of this, and that's a fantastic poem. And I've said it before about you being able to write about what you're going through with that directness is medicine for us, because I mean, we're all headed to something like that, and you're showing us the courage, and you're smiling about it while you do it. It's just so beautiful. All right, I know it's 9:09 on the East Coast, so I want to wrap it up. Look at that. iPad says wonderful, love your poem, and other good comments. Of course, you can see that. I will get the material for the next week on there as soon as I can. I'm going to have dinner. We've got to get our steps. And then hopefully tonight I'll be able to get in front of the computer and add some of this stuff. The Yosemite Sam, the Joanne Kiger Phenomenological, the Bly movie, and there's a couple of other things in there. And I've got tons. I have a non-published or private page that when I see something good, I put it in there. So when I go to put your stuff together, it's like a plethora of choices, and I try not to put too much. For those of you who haven't been able to get some writing done, 3 lines a day, something very basic. If you can do something very basic, get your hands in it until the time comes when you're doing it. And always remember that you're incubating. You're going through these experiences. You're incubating this, especially if you're in a position like Linda, where you can't write because you forget your journal or whatever, and you're just supposed to have the experience and not write about it in the moment. It's okay, because the experience is so potent, you'll remember for a day or 2 or a week, but hopefully close to the event, because your memory is better at those times. I look at some of the journal stuff I write, because I read my last year's journal entry on the next year on the same day, like today on the Sunday that corresponded. So last year it was Sunday the 17th. I read that journal entry before I started journaling, and you forget half that shit in a year. So try and get it down when it's fresh. And thank you so much for your inspired participation. You inspire me to stay on this, to stay on my game with all this, certainly to provide materials for you. And so thanks for reading them and for your intelligent and inspired participation. Yeah, it was nice to hear Ed in the Amiel Al Calais. That was cool that he did that. The audio was shitty. Sorry about that. All right, folks, I'm gonna mute myself and plan on seeing you in 1 week, and I'll get you an email hopefully tomorrow before the Kraken Blackhawks game at Climate Pledge Arena tomorrow at 2:00. Christmas gift. Thank you all.